My life story, an Eve Wick production. I grew up as a foster child. Esther and Melito, seen in the photo, were my first foster parents. When I was a year old, they came to the Age of Guardian home and they wanted to adopt me. But my birth mother would not allow it, and so they decided to take me in as a foster child. I was very happy with them. And this is my kindergarten picture, and I was very eager to go to school and learn. And as I said, it was a happy time of my life. You'll see now my sister Blanca. She's next to the family friend who's in a black suit and tie. And next to her is Elaine. And then I am there at the end with the blue dress and the red doll, or the doll with the red dress. And Blanca played accordion, she tap danced, and I was spoiled rotten. And unfortunately, after 6 years of living with them, they had to move to Puerto Rico because my father got a job in Puerto Rico. So they begged my mother to let Eva be adopted, which was me. And of course, she'd like to say the word no a lot, and it was always a no. So when I was 6, I had to go to another foster home, and I was very anxious. I was very scared. I was devastated. This is the family that I lived with 5 years, and I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Thankfully, my mom, Esther, had a sister in Brooklyn who was raising 2 foster children of her own. So she asked her sister Blanche if she would take me in, and if she would take care of me in the interim while they were trying to get the adoption to go through. This house, for the most part, Blanche was a pleasant person. She was strict when I was young. She had a strict rules, whereas I couldn't get up after I'd gone to bed. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. And my Uncle Mike was a very anxious, nervous man. He had fought in World War II. Christmas or July 4th, we never celebrated because the fireworks reminded him of the war. Usually, when Uncle Mike came home from work, I was scared of him and I would hide. I would make sure to get out of his way because he had a temper and he could take it out on anyone, and I was afraid of him. And again, this is not good for a child. This is what builds anxiety at such an early age, and that's why I've suffered from anxiety my whole life. And he never hit me, but he just had this voice and this presence that, if you don't do what I ask you to do, I will hit you or I will take care of you. So I was happy actually when they decided to moved to Puerto Rico, also after 6 years, I was kind of happy because I was not, or let's say, it was not a pleasant relationship at that house, or a pleasant environment. Not that it was physically, but it was absolutely emotionally abusive environment. So after 6 years, um, I went to live with Uncle Mike's brother, Uncle George, in Brooklyn, and I loved Uncle George and Aunt Phyllis. They were the best. That's the from the age of about 12 to 17, I lived with them. My Aunt Phyllis had me involved in Girl Scout um, activities at the church. She was, just a pillar of the community, and she would cater for 200 people at the church, and everybody knew Aunt Phyllis, and, I was very active in the church, and we also planned block parties, and, and the Girl Scouts, and arts and crafts. And Uncle George was a disabled American veteran. He lost a leg in the war, and he worked on Wall Street every day. Got up, went to work. Although he's on disability, he was very productive man in our neighborhood, at the church, and he did not allow his handicap to handicap him. So I was so blessed to live with Aunt Phyllis and Uncle George. In the summers, Aunt Phyllis would send me to the food bus to get a lunch, which consisted of a sandwich, chocolate milk, and a dessert. And she did this not because we didn't have food at home, certainly, but because she wanted to build character and humility in me, or to keep me humble. And it wasn't a pleasant experience at all. I would just walk over, and I was like just like all of the kids there, no better, no worse. And um, I thank her for this experience because it made me see what the kids in the community that were in the low economic class, just to have a little bit of contact with them, even though it was just maybe 20 minutes on the line. I just got to see them and to talk to them, and they were really nice. And later on in life, as a school teacher, I taught for 32 years. These were the children that I taught. Inner city kids, lower economic areas. This little lunch was truly um, preparing me for my career in life. You have to look at everything in a positive manner. You have to see what good is going to come out from a situation that might make you think or make you feel that you're being uh, taken advantage of, or that you feel embarrassed, or someone's putting you in an embarrassing situation, and that's not the case. Also, Uncle George taught me poetry, and he wrote poetry, and the first poem that he shared was Old King Philip. Old King Philip lost his crown. His soldiers searched around the town. They searched um, all along the homestead and finally found it under his bed. So, right there, that relationship of my uncle and I and poetry just took off. And I started writing at the age of 13, and I have never stopped. Um, this is why God does things the way He does. Oh, woe is me. I'm living in my third foster home. With every foster home, I got stronger. With every foster home, I learned more. With every foster home, I was blessed. So when you see something in your life and you don't understand it, know that God is in control. You get to just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show because God is in control. My Uncle George was an a disabled American veteran. He lost a leg in the war, and he went to work every day at on Wall Street. He having this disability did not stop him from being involved in the community and at the church. He was an inspiration that I will never forget, and it, he taught me to go on. He taught me, he told me what a smart girl I was. Aunt Phyllis always complimented me and said I was so pretty, that I was a smart girl, that I would just go very far in life. And I thank God that I lived with them because they built up my sense of self-esteem or my sense of self-worth. They truly were the type of parent that I was looking for. Other than Esther and Melito. So with that said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. After living with Aunt Phyllis and Uncle George for 5 years, my mother decided it was time for me to be adopted. Unfortunately, I was 17 and a half years of age. 6 more months, I would have been emancipated anyway because I would have been 18 years old. So she decided after 11 years of keeping me apart from Esther and Melito that now was the time for me to get adopted. And this was a concept that I could not understand. I knew that my mother was herself depressed. She was living in a low economic area. She had 12 children from different fathers. Her life was not a pleasant one for her. Every month I would have to go visit her, and that was not something I look forward to. And so 17 and a half years. So I went to Puerto Rico and I lived with Esther and Melito. They were well in their 70s, almost 70 by then. But that was a hard one to swallow. That was a hard one to swallow because why 11 years, God? And sometimes I don't have the question to that one yet. Understand why Esther Melito had to suffer for 11 years. So I will have to ask God when I get to heaven because I haven't figured that one out. You know, I don't care if I suffered, but I cared if my parents suffered. And they suffered. Every Christmas, every birthday, I was never there. I was never there for their birthdays. Uh, it was a mean thing to do. And I just feel that my birth mother uh, was mean. And my birth mother, I finally forgave her in my 30s. I forgave everyone, and when I rededicated my life to Jesus Christ at the age of 33, which is the age that Jesus died. I forgave everyone. I forgave my cousins who were mean to me. I forgave my birth mother. I forgave any friends or family members that had done me wrong. So by the age of 33, I was free. I was free. I was free from guilt, free from regret. I used to blame myself, for all of this, and that's just hockey puck. It was not my fault. So, God is good, and that's why I'm talking to you today. After graduating from high school and college, I met Prince Charming, and my life took a whole new direction. We were madly in love. We've been married 31 and a half years. God sent me this wonderful, responsible man. He has blessed me immensely in my adult life. I have Robert first. He was my first child, as you can see in this picture. We were really hard on the notes there, studying hard. Mom and Robert are really tired there. And he was the love of my life. I mean, he was my firstborn. He was an absolute joy. He was a happy child. He loved to dance. He was very spontaneous. He was very affectionate. He was very healthy. And eventually he became, I would say by the start of age 10, he started becoming very independent. He's 23 nowadays, and he does want to finish college. He wasn't even working until recently. He's very disrespectful. And anyone who's listening, I want you to pray for Robert, because I'm to the point where I will not talk to him because he is so disrespectful, and my husband has addressed him several times. We're not ones to hoot and holler. We're not that type of people. We've tried to reason with him, but beyond reasoning, he just doesn't respond. I have to actually yell at him, which I did the other day, which made him jump because I don't yell, in order for him to do what I've asked him to do. And right now, I'm not going to talk with him, and I'm not going to have conversations which are quote unquote against his will. So, God is in control with that boy, and I dedicated him to the Lord. So we will see another miracle happen. Just wait and see. This is my second son, Joshua Leonard, and he is just, I mean, you can't find a picture of him where he's not um, smiling. He is just a cheerful child, a joyful child, an obedient child, a child who just wants to please mom and dad. He's very huggy, um, and he's in the 95 percentile for height. So my son Robert at 23 is 5'9.5", and Joshua at 15 is 5'9.5", and Joshua's gonna be well at over 6 feet tall. So I can't wait to call him the gentle giant, because that's just what he is. He's a always been a gentle child, and a child that will come up to me and say, "Hey mom, I know you're having a bad day. Don't worry. God is going to help you. You can have a better day tomorrow." That just that just brightens my day and my heart. But God keeps his promises. My husband and I are healthy. After 31 years of marriage, we have learned so much. We have been faithful all those years and loyal to each other. And I couldn't have found a better man, because God found him for me. He's precious. Our life is precious. Don't ever think it isn't.